Hey everyone, welcome back to our channel. If you're new here, please subscribe. I'd really love that. If you're returning, how you doing today? Well, as I'm waiting for my coffee to brew, I'm also canning. There's a video, this video that I want to do. I did it on my first channel, okay? And I said that I wanted to revisit this subject. So I'm going to go ahead and I'll revisit this subject. And this is talking about surviving a full SHTF collapse, okay? This is a true story. This happened in Bosnia back in the 90s. I spoke about this already. Trish and I spoke about this during a live stream, okay? But before I get into this, okay, please, if you haven't already subscribed to our monthly newsletter, please go ahead and do that now, okay? You don't want to miss it. It's not too late to get the September. We're already working on October. October's is going to be the bomb.com. Let me tell you that. You guys have asked me for some recipes, and by God, I'm going to be including those recipes in this newsletter, in October's newsletter, so get ready for that. We are looking for your input, so if you have any prepping ideas that you would like to have included in this newsletter, please submit them. Either email me or email Trish. All of the information, all of the important information, including our emails and everything else, is always going to be in the description box below. So let me get my coffee, okay? And we're going to talk about this very important subject, okay? Because I feel that it's important that we revisit this, okay? Because I don't know if people really understand the severity of what happened in Bosnia. And, we talk about like Venezuela, okay? And we talk about other things in other countries, but no one has ever really focused, I don't believe, on Bosnia. So let's get into talking about Bosnia, okay? So I will reread the entire article, okay? This was written by someone who experienced the entire thing from beginning to end. This will tug at your heartstrings, but it will also make you see prepping from a whole other perspective, okay? And it will also give you ideas on what else to prep and what else to prepare for. And I know that I have a lot of women who are subscribers, but this will also make us women look at preparing and being of the prepared mind in a different view. So, grab your coffee, maybe some chocolate, because you just never know with me. So, it starts out like this. And I will leave the link in the description box below. Okay. I am from Bosnia. Between 1992 and 1995, it was hell. For 1 year, I lived and survived in a city with 6,000 people without water, electricity, gasoline, medical help, civil defense, distribution service of any kind, traditional service, or centralized rule. Money soon became worthless. We returned to an exchange, or as we call it in this country, bartering. For a tin can of tushonka, or that is like the Soviet word for spam, right? How we have tin cans of spam. you could have a woman. Arms, ammunition, candles, lighters, antibiotics, gasoline, batteries, and food. We fought for these things like animals. In these situations, it all changes. Men become monsters. Strength was in numbers. For a man living alone, getting killed and robbed would be just a matter of time, even if he was armed. The following is my experience. This man, okay? Our city was blockaded by the army, and for 1 year, life in the city turned to total crapola. We had no army, no police. We only had armed groups. Those armed protected their homes and their families. When it all started, some of us were better prepared, but most of the neighboring families had enough food for only a few days. Some had pistols. A few had AK-47s or shotguns. After a month or two, gangs started operating, destroying everything. Hospitals, for example, turned into slaughterhouses. There was no more police. About 80% of the hospital staff were gone. I got lucky. My family at the time was fairly large, 15 people in a large house, 6 pistols, 3 AKs. And we survived, most of us at least. The Americans dropped MREs every 10 days to help the blockaded cities. There was never enough. Some, very few, had gardens. It took 3 months for the first rumors to spread of men dying from hunger and cold. We removed all the doors, the window frames from abandoned homes, ripped up floors, burned furniture for heat. Many died from diseases, especially from the water. 2 from my own family. We drank mostly rainwater, ate pigeons, and even rats. Money soon became worthless. We returned to an exchange, or bartering. For a tin can of Tashanka, or think of Spam, right on, you could have a woman. It was hard to speak of, but it's true. Most of the women who sold themselves were desperate mothers. Arms, ammunition, candles, lighters, antibiotics, gasoline, batteries, and food. Now, as I read this, okay, if there's anything that you feel, I want you to write it down, okay? I really do. Because the first time I did this video, okay, on my other channel, and then Trish and I went live and we spoke about this, people were saying, well, what's the list? What's the list? And I had to, in the chat, write down, type in rather, the list of things that, were mentioned in this article. So please go ahead. I will reiterate what I just said so you can write these things down, okay? Because these are the things that were most valuable during this time of SHTF in Bosnia between 92 and 95. But regardless of the time span, this was a genuine SHTF situation. Even though it was in Bosnia, this can be put toward any country. It doesn't matter, okay? Arms, ammunition, candles, lighters, antibiotics, gasoline, batteries, food, okay? In these situations, it all changes. Men became monsters. It was disgusting. Strength was in numbers. So if you have a mag, okay, now this is me speaking to you, and it's not in the article. So if you have a mag, or, like a group, okay, because a lot of people don't know what mag is. If you have a group, of trusted individuals that you, say, bug out with, for practice purposes on a weekend basis or more monthly basis, or whatever the case may be. Strength is in numbers, okay? So, that's what he's speaking of. The strength is in numbers, okay? A man living alone getting killed and robbed would be just a matter of time, even if he was armed. Why? Because he's one. So the saying, the prepper saying, it doesn't just apply to food or prepping any item. One is none, two is one. Why not have three? Okay. That would apply to your mag as well. If you're just alone, even if you're armed, you're more susceptible to getting attacked. So strength in numbers. Yes. Today, me and my family are well prepared. I am well armed. I have experience. It does not matter what will happen: an earthquake, a war, tsunami, aliens, terrorists, economic collapse, uprising. The important part is that something will happen. Here is my experience, and you can't make it your own. Don't stay apart from your family. Prepare together. Choose reliable friends. Exactly. In our community here, okay, with subscribers and stuff like that, I have gotten to know a lot of you on a personal level. You've even actually emailed me and said, this is my address. If an event ever happens, please come here. Well, thank you. Things like that. So I have, become very, very close with quite a few of you. So, and I thank you for that. So, hang on, I got to check the camera. Hang on. Okay. So, how to move safely in a city. The city was divided into communities along streets. Our street, 15 to 20 homes, had patrols, 5 armed men every week to watch for gangs and for our enemies. All the exchanges occurred in the street. About 5 kilometers away was an entire street for trading, all well organized, but going there was too dangerous because of snipers. You could also get robbed by bandits. I only went there twice. When I needed something really rare, medicine or antibiotics, or of the French original of the text. Nobody used automobiles in the city. The streets were blocked by wreckage and by abandoned cars. Gasoline was very expensive. If one needed to go somewhere, that was done at night. Never travel alone or in groups that were too big. Always 2-3 men, all armed. Travel swift, in the shadows, cross streets, through ruins, not alone, open streets. No, not along open streets. There were many gangs, 10 to 15 men strong, some as large as 50 men. But there were also many normal men like you, me, fathers, grandfathers who killed and robbed. There were no good, no bad men. Most were in the middle, ready for the worst. Well, what about wood? Your home, city, surrounded by woods. Why did you burn doors, furniture? There were not that many woods around the city. It was very beautiful. Restaurants, cinemas, schools, even an airport. Every tree in the city and in the city park were cut down for fuel in the first 2 months. Without electricity for cooking and heat, we burned anything that burned. Furniture, doors, flooring. That wood burned swiftly. We had no suburbs or suburban farms. The enemy was in the suburbs. We were surrounded. Even in the city, you never knew who was the enemy at any given point. What knowledge was useful to you in that period? To imagine the situation a bit better, you should know it was practically a return to the Stone Age. For example, I had a container of cooking gas, but I did not use it for heat. That would have been too expensive. I attached a nozzle to it to make myself and used it to refill lighters. Why? Lighters were precious. If a man brought an empty lighter, I would fill it. He would give me a tin of food or a candle. I was a paramedic. In these conditions, my knowledge was my wealth. Be curious and skilled. In these conditions, the ability to fix things is more valuable than gold. Items and supplies will inevitably run out, but your skills will keep you fed. I wish to say this: learn to fix things, shoes, or people. My neighbor, for example, knew how to make kerosene for lamps. He never went hungry. If you had 3 months to prepare now, what would you do? 3 months? Run away from the country. I'm kidding. Today, I know everything can collapse really fast. I have a stockpile of food, hygiene items, batteries, enough to last me for 6 months. I live in a very secure flat and own a home with a shelter in a village 5 kilometers away. Another 6 months supply there too. That's a small village. Most people there are well prepared. The war had taught them. I have 4 weapons, 2,000 rounds for each. I have a garden. I have learned gardening. Also, I have a good instinct. You know, when everyone around you keeps telling you it'll all be fine, but I know it will all collapse. I have strength to do what I need to protect my family, because when it all collapses, you must be ready to do bad things to keep your children alive and protect your family. Surviving on your own is practically impossible. That's what I think. Even you're armed and ready, you are alone, you'll die. I have seen that happen many times. Families and groups well prepared with skills, knowledge, various fields, much better. So what would you stockpile? Now that depends. If you plan to live by theft, all you need is weapons and ammo, lots of ammo. If not, more food, hygiene items, batteries, accumulators, little trading items like knives, lighters, flints, soap. Also, alcohol of a type that keeps well. The cheapest whiskey is a good trading item. Many people died from insufficient hygiene. Remember that. You'll need simple items in great amounts. For example, garbage bags, lots of them, toilet paper, non-reusable dishes and cups. You need a lot of them. I know that because we didn't have any at all. As for me, the supply of hygiene items is perhaps more important than food. You can shoot a pigeon. You can find a plant to eat. But you can't shoot or find any disinfectant. Disinfectants, detergents, bleach, soap, gloves, masks. First aid skills, washing wounds and burns. Perhaps you will find a doctor and will not be able to pay him. Right, Stormy? Learn to use antibiotics. It's good to have a stockpile of them. You should choose the simplest of weapons. I carry a Glock 45. I like it, but it's a rare gun. So I have 2 TT pistols too. Everyone has them, and ammo is common. Stormy. Hang on. You must own small, unnoticeable items. For example, generator is good, but 1,000 Bic lighters, that's better. A generator will attract attention, but if there's any trouble, 1,000 lighters are compact, cheap, can always be traded. We usually collected rainwater into 4 large barrels and then boiled it. There was a small river, but the water in it became very dirty very fast. It's also very important to have containers for water, barrels, buckets. Were gold and silver useful? Yes, I personally traded all the gold coins in the house for ammunition. Sometimes we got our hands on money, dollars and Deutschmarks. We bought some things for them, but this was rare and prices were astronomical. For example, a can of beans cost $30 to $40. The local money quickly became worthless. Everything we needed, we traded for through barter. Sorry. Stormy is very needy right now. So, was salt expensive? Yes, but coffee and cigarettes were even more expensive. I had a lot of alcohol and traded it without problems. Alcohol consumption grew over 10 times as compared to peacetime. Perhaps today it's more useful to keep a stock of cigarettes, lighters, and batteries. They take up less space. At this time, I was not a survivalist. We had no time to prepare. Several days before it hit the fan, the politicians kept repeating over the TV, now listen to this, because how many times have we heard this? Everything is going according to plan. There's no reason to be concerned. When the sky fell on our heads, we took what we could. Was it difficult to purchase firearms? What did you trade for arms and ammunition? After the war, we had guns in every house. The police confiscated lots of guns at the beginning of the war, but most of them we hid. Now I have one legal one that I have a license for. Under the law, that's called a temporary collection. If there is unrest, the government will seize all the registered ones. Never forget that. The registered ones. You know, there are many people who have one legal one, but also illegal ones if that one gets seized. If you have good trade goods, you might be able to get a gun in a tough situation, but remember, the most difficult time is the first days. And perhaps you won't have enough time to find a weapon to protect your family. To be disarmed in a time of chaos and panic is a bad idea. In my case, there was a man who needed a car battery for his radio. He had shotguns. I traded the accumulator for both of them. Sometimes I traded ammunition for food. And a few weeks later, traded food for ammunition. Never did the trade at home. Never in great amounts. Few people knew how much and what I kept at home, and that's the key. As preppers, we always say, never, ever, ever show what you have. And if you have people in your house, I know it's a little hard to hide what we have, stuff like that, I get it. But we have to try and hide things sometimes. You know what I mean? I know it's difficult. So, the most important thing is to keep as many things as possible in terms of space and money. Eventually, you'll understand what is more valuable. So what about security? Our defense was very primitive. Again, we weren't ready, and we used what we could. The windows were shattered. The roofs were in horrible state after the bombings. The windows were blocked. Some of the sandbags, others were rocks. I blocked the fence gate with wreckage and garbage and used a ladder to get across the wall. When I came home, I asked someone inside to pass over the ladder. We had a fellow on our street that completely barricaded himself in his house. He broke a hole in the wall, creating a passage for himself into the ruins of the neighbor's house, a sort of like secret entrance. Maybe this would seem strange, but the most protected houses were looted and destroyed first. In my area of the city, there were beautiful houses with walls, dogs, alarms, barred windows. People attacked them first. Some held out, others didn't. It all depended how many hands and guns they had outside or inside. I think defense is very important, but it must be carried out unobtrusively. If you're in a city and SHTF comes, you need a simple, non-flashy place with lots of guns and ammo. How much ammo? As much as possible. Make your house as unattractive as you can. Right now, I own a steel door, but that's just against the first wave of chaos. After that passes, I'll leave the city to rejoin a larger group of people, my friends, my family. There were some situations during the war. There is no need for details, but we'll always have had superior firepower and brick wall on our side. We also constantly kept someone watching the streets. Quality organization is paramount in case of gang attacks. Shooting was constantly heard in the city. Our perimeter was defended primitively. All the exits were barricaded and had little firing slits. Inside, we had at least 5 family members ready for battle at any time. 1 man in the street, hidden in his shelter. We stayed home through the day to avoid sniper fire. At first, the weak perish, then the rest fight. During the day, the streets were practically empty due to sniper fire. Defenses were oriented towards short-range combat alone. Many died if they went out to gather information. For example, it's important to remember we had no information, no radio, no TV, only rumors, nothing else. There was no organized army. Every man fought. We had no choice. Everybody was armed, ready to defend themselves. You should not wear quality items in the city. Someone will murder you. Take them. Don't even carry a pretty long arm. It will attract attention. Let me tell you something. If SHTF happens tomorrow, I'll be humble. I'll look like everyone else. Desperate, fearful. Maybe I'll even cry a little. Pretty clothing is excluded altogether. I will not go out in my new tactical outfit to shout, "I have come. You're doomed, bad guys." That's just funny. No, I'll stay aside, well armed, well prepared, waiting and evaluating my possibilities with my best friend or my brother. Self-defenses, super guns are meaningless. If people think they should steal your things, that you're profitable, they will. It's only a question of time and the amount of guns in hands. So, how was the situation with toilets? We used shovels and a patch of earth near the house. Does it seem dirty? It was. We washed them with rainwater or in the river, but most of the time the latter was too dangerous. We had no toilet paper, and if we had any, I would have traded it anyway. It was a dirty business. Let me give you a piece of advice. You need guns and ammo first. Second, everything else. Literally everything. All depends on the space and the money you have. If you forget something, there will always be someone to trade with for it. But if you forget weapons and ammo, there will be no access or trading for you. I don't think big families are extra mouths. Big families means both more guns and strength. And from there, everyone prepares on his own. So, how did people treat the sick and the injured? Most injuries were from gunfire. Without a specialist and without equipment, if an injured man found a doctor somewhere, he had about a 30% chance of survival. It ain't the movie. People died. Many died from infections of superficial wounds. I had antibiotics for 3 to 4 uses. For the family, of course. People died foolishly quite often. Simple diarrhea will kill you in a few days without medicine, with limited amounts of water. There were many skin diseases and food poisonings, nothing to it. Many used local plants and pure alcohol, enough for the short term, but useless in the long term. Hygiene is very important, as well as having as much medicine as possible, especially antibiotics. Now, I hope you guys wrote down some of the things, that I mentioned in there, okay? I know that, a lot of people, find it a touchy subject and stuff like that, and yes, I get it, okay? But these are things that, because a lot of people ask me, well, what are some things that I should be stocking up on and stuff like that? Okay, well, here you go. And this is the reason why. All right. I love you. I'll see you in the next one. You stay safe, you stay positive, you keep prepping. And as always,